Live.
Ready to go. Oh, hang on, what have I got here?
So, welcome to our stream. I'm just gonna check if it's on. It says it's live. So
Yep, I
I'm,
think we're
I'm gonna
live.
check my YouTube and see if I'm live. Yeah, so it's live. So that's good. It's called Music and Mindset interview with Kristy Russel from Movers and Shakers. Welcome.
Thank you, Kate. It's lovely to be here.
So just so everyone knows, my name is Storykate or Kate
Mhm,
Chinarova. So and
mhm.
me and Kristy, we used to go to the same university together, to Monash University, and
Many years ago.
many years ago, and finished highly intense training that was insane. I always tell my students and my colleagues that it was the year I don't remember.
I don't remember it either. And I've had
Yeah,
two kids, and I know they sap a lot of your memory, but that was
yeah.
really quick, wasn't it? It was
Yeah,
really
it
quick.
was really intense and very fast. And we learned something about music during this
Oh,
course, but not much. I don't
no.
remember any specific workshop or course that would really bring it up. So that's, I think, a bit of a gap in our education in general.
I
What do you
think so,
think?
definitely. I think so, definitely. And that's something that I know I spoke to you just recently about is when you're doing your early childhood training in particular, like any educational training,
Mhm.
primary, secondary, or early childhood, particularly early childhood needs to have that music and movement focus as well, because it's really the most wonderful way to engage. Like it covers all of your curriculum, it covers
Yes.
your identity, your sense of community, it covers
Yes.
well-being, it covers learning, and it covers communication. Because early learning is so focused on pre-literacy, pre-numeracy, I'm talking birth till 5.
Yeah.
Those are and we learn through play. Children
Yeah.
learn through play, that's their work. So music and movement, and I'll weave mindset through it shortly, but music and movement is hands down the best way to bring in so many skills, to scaffold, to explicit teach, to have the child's emerging interest.
Yes.
It's just, it's a one-stop shop, I believe, and it's not
Yeah,
just my belief.
it's not wrong, because there is a lot of research that I've done during my master's degree on music and literacy. So it was a
Mm,
specific literature review and assessment that we had to look into the effectiveness of some programs for numeracy and literacy, as you said,
mm,
because the focus is really on. And I found a lot of research that suggests that music is the best for pre-literacy, early literacy, multiple literacy,
mhm.
numeracy, pre-number skills, rhythm,
Yeah.
and also now, because we have more and more children who have sensory disorders, they
Mhm.
have delays across all domains.
Mm.
That's probably one of the best ways and easiest strategy to use, and part of curriculum as well.
Mm,
Um, so
definitely. Yeah, there's a lot of neuroscience that supports this. And when I did, we're talking even way back when I did my
yeah,
undergraduate in behavioral science, a large focus on that was
yeah.
neuroplasticity. And still 25 years ago, we're talking late 90s, there was still this idea in neuroscience and developmental psychology that our brains sort of, aren't that neuroplastic. And that's just, that's been put, brushed away now. We
Yeah,
know so much more about our brain function and our brain health and our the brains really can rewire at any
yeah,
age.
yeah.
Yes, in the ages of birth and 8-ish,
Mhm.
they think that's a really critical time, because it's the most intense growth period, and foundations are laid, and all those neural pathways and networks are created. So yes, that is a vital part of the human lifespan, but it's not the only part where we can really have an impact on our neural functions and our the architecture of our brain. And the beautiful thing about music and mindfulness, and this is why I bring music and mindset together, they're both equally in their own right a superpower for our brain function, our heart function, across all of our bodily functions.
Yep.
Bring so many benefits to our hearts, bodies, and minds that when you bring them bring those two things together, then it becomes a supercharge, an extra supercharge, you know what I mean?
Yep.
We're not only helping our brains thrive when we're engaging in thinking about learning musical learning, when we bring in the mindset practices, so mindfulness techniques as simple as breathing, for example, focused breathing, we're
And you
setting.
don't have to pay for it, right? So it's not an expensive
Everybody
resource.
Everybody breathes, but we don't all breathe in a way that can support our body and our brain to function at its best. You know, sometimes, you know yourself, when you're a bit nervous or you're a bit anxious about something, your breathing will become quick, shallow. You'll feel it here. Sorry, I'm touching my microphone.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And that will restrict the blood flow to your muscles. So you're going to get clammy hands. You're going to get your heart rate will quicken. But when you focus on your breathing, you're telling your body, okay, you're safe. You're telling your brain you're safe. Your muscles are safe. There might be a perceived threat that's not actually there, but you can bring your body back to a state of regulation. That's what we call co-regulation when we work with children or other people, and self-regulation for ourselves. So,
about yourself,
so there's so much neuroscience, you know, so many things these days in neuroscience and scientific, you know, people like science because it gives them a reason or a more of a justification to believe something, you know, which sometimes is sad in a way, but at the same time, you know, it helps us to understand because there's so many wonderful things about you know, indigenous cultures or traditional cultures. There's so much knowing, ancient wisdom. Well, now we can sort of bring those two together and reach more people with the understandings and the benefits.
That sounds like a very interesting area of research, and I can see that it's intersection of music and mindset. So to go back to yourself, can you tell us a little bit about your background? So you have education, in early childhood education degree. What other things can you
well, I mean, I was thinking about it today. I am celebrating my 25th year in the education industry. Now, when I say that, you know, I've worn many different hats in that 25 years, but there's always been a piano teacher part of it because I'm classically trained on the piano. So there's always been that piano teaching. So, you know, from 5-year-old or 3-year-olds, actually, I used to have some 3-year-olds right up to, you know, mid-60s. So that's teaching across the lifespan. Then the early childhood education, I fell in love with that just after I finished my undergraduate, which was in behavioural science. I always thought I was going to do child psychology, but I got to the end and I graduated and I just wanted to have a job and get in real life. I didn't want to study anymore. I was curious about the connection between music, about, you know, child behaviour, about how we connect as humans, and about music and the effect on the brain. So I started piano teaching and I also studied full-time in my children's services. So what we're teaching these days. And I just loved it. And I went on then to, you know, for the next 15 years, so many different, you know, Montessori, long day care. I even lived overseas for 4.5 years and I did some nannying in different countries and studying and, you know, all of these different experiences, but always I came back to education and, you know, usually with children. Then, you know, when I came back to Australia, I did the graduate diploma in early childhood education, worked beautiful, just over 3 years working as a kindergarten teacher. And then I had my own children. So I took a long break. And then we moved
real life.
Real life. Oh, yeah. You know.
Yeah, because these children didn't go home.
No.
End of the day.
And it's always been, I've always been very curious about everything. Let me just say everything, but particularly the brain function. I've never lost my curiosity about brain function and why we do stuff and how music.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I'm just trying to really quickly in a nutshell, but when we moved to Tasmania, I found out I couldn't teach kindergarten anymore. There's just different state rules, right?
Yeah.
So I thought, what am I going to do? So I started up my own business, and this is Movers and Shakers Music. And I started it as, you know, doing community group music and movement programs in Launch into Learning and play groups and the Birth to Five programs, and I loved it. And then community
Hmm.
events. You know, I'm this 6th year running. We have our local massive big tulip festival where I live, and I'm running more story time, music and story times there. You can jump on the website to book for that if you're in the northwest of Tasmania. So all of these things combined, and I just rolled all of my skills into one, and it's grown from there, because now I have recently started doing what I'm doing service-based, putting it together online into online courses.
Make it
And
more accessible for everyone
more
else. Yeah.
accessible for everyone, you know, especially because we're living in Tassie now. I really get
Yeah.
that feeling like there's a lot of things we miss out
Yeah.
when we attend it in person. And the thing about musical learning and mindset, you do need to have that element of, you know, hands-on practical skills. So I can deliver that
Yeah.
online with a live masterclass, with a live webinar. I can teach you, you know, I can show you what I'm talking about, you
Yeah.
know, like I'm talking to you right here. But I can also give you the knowledge that you can read through by yourself and do that
Mhm.
kind of learning. And then we get together, and then you take that away and you practice it in your
Oh, that
early
sounds very good,
learning.
like links between theory and practice.
Exactly. And that's where we get optimal success. You know yourself as an educator
Yeah.
and as a parent, and as, you know, as a student yourself.
Yeah.
Our optimal success is when we're able to combine the knowledge that's up here into how it actually translates into
Yeah,
real.
absolutely. So
Mm.
for from my experience, I learned all these musical skills. I'm also classically trained as a
Mm.
piano player. not
Yes,
not
yes,
teach-
and this
yeah, I'm not teaching piano, but I could play a little bit at probably level 5 IMAP
oh, yeah.
at the moment. But I enjoy it for fun, and I taught myself ukulele, and now I'm seeing an interest among early childhood teachers and educators, because whenever I come and play with children, just even part of my training visit or as my casual shift, they're
Yeah,
absolutely amazed how easy and accessible it is. And children all circle around me even without calling, come to the floor. I
I
don't
know.
have to do
It's
anything. I just pulled
it's
out
magic.
my ukulele and start singing Puff the Magic Dragon. And they all come and start like listening. It's a storytelling. It's amazing. But I have an example for you, or like a more like a case study for you,
Mm.
or a challenge. So imagine that I'm a kindergarten teacher who just bought this instrument, let's say, right? So because it was cool,
Take
it was in the shopping center. I don't know what it is, but it sounded really cool. Uh, and I tried to play with it, but it looked quite complicated. It sounded nice, but I let children play with it, and then they started to be rough. So I removed it and put it in the storeroom. What is my mistake? What am I doing wrong?
Oh, don't put it away. Well, you've just kind of answered your own question. You felt completely deflated. You've thought, oh, it looks beautiful, it sounds beautiful, but I don't know what to do with it. That's the beautiful thing about instruments like that. You don't have to know how to actually play them to, you know, as a musician.
Yeah,
We need to remember that music at its core is variation in tone, in pitch, in
yeah,
rhythm, in beat. It's a bodily felt, a heartfelt expression of creativity. And that's really important, because we need to debunk this myth that a musical person is a person that learns an instrument and that has
yes,
access to
yeah,
it, that can pay for the lessons. A musical person is someone that can sing in tune and
yeah,
wow audiences. We are all
yeah.
born musical. Now, with your tank drum, and I have a beautiful one here, and I'll show you mine as well. Oh, aren't they gorgeous?
Fine.
Now,
Yeah, they're very beautiful. That's the smallest one.
oh,
Yes.
so lovely. Now, this in itself has, oh my gosh, at least 30 opportunities for opening up a
Mhm.
conversation with children. You can talk about science, you can talk about maths, you can talk about music, you can talk about materials, recyclable sustainability. There's
Yeah,
so many things that you can talk about. In terms of musical, though, you know, one of these instruments is ideally made to create a beautiful sound. And yes, you can learn songs on it, but
yeah,
really what it is a beautiful mindfulness, calming, regulatory tool. You can use it like that. And you can, you know, you talk to the children when you're playing it, it's a tongue drum or a tank drum, because you see these little things here are the shape. Oh, here, this one
Petals,
are the
yeah.
shape of the tongue, and that's kids love that already. Like I go poke
Ah,
at your
they
tongue.
do. Yes, that's
And
true.
it's
That's very
great.
cool. Yeah.
Bringing in numeracy right there.
Yes.
Talking shapes.
They like the numbers. They can recognize 1, 3. Yeah.
Exactly. Now yours has numbers on it because it's encouraging you to follow the numbers. And that's a really
Yeah.
important thing too, because you can, that's your pre-numeracy where you need to follow sequences, which will also
Mhm.
help you read. Pre-literacy, you need to be able to scan from left to right. I digress. Coming back to this as a musical instrument, you can invite the children to look at it and notice things. Like one of the first things I do this every time. My current role is actually one of my current roles is support specialist for the literacy intervention program, and I also work with grade 1 2 library students. And every second we bring this in, we have it. They've just been out for recess, so they're all like woohoo. So I just play it as they're calming down. I don't expect them to calm down straight away.
Yeah.
And I just
Oh, that
and
sounds
I,
divine.
and I just invite them. I play it very slowly. And I invite them to look at it and to think, what do you notice? And
Yeah.
little children will be able to do that, and they'll want to touch it. What do you notice? And we start talking about the tongues are different sizes. And then we
Yes.
talk about that the longer tongues are lower pitch, and the
Oh,
higher,
yeah, that's true. Let me try.
the shorter ones are higher pitch. And that comes back to science. If you've got
Oh,
older,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, I just checked it.
back to science.
Yeah.
So, and then you just listen quietly to the music. Then I invite them to play, and it's really interesting because a lot of them will want to bang
Yeah,
it
they
like a
would
drum.
whack it.
The best sound when you're as quiet as a mouse and gentle. So it's you can bring all of this language. It's such a rich experience. So I would really shy away. I mean, you do what you want with it, really, but I would shy away from teaching a specific song on such a beautiful instrument like this. I have bells. I haven't got them here because they're quite
I have
clunky,
bells too. Yeah, they're musical bells. Yeah.
and they are also wonderful for exploring pitch.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more tricky. You do need a little bit more of an understanding about high notes, low notes, and pitch and things like that. But for an exploration, you can talk about what do you hear as you're pressing the. Some of them are press bells, some of them are.
Yeah, mine are just jingle bells. Yeah.
Just the jingle bells. Yeah. So there's certain instruments that you can introduce as a specific learn this song, like a xylophone or a keyboard. Those pitched instruments, and then you have instruments like this.
Instruments. Yeah.
Beautiful just to explore. And
you would suggest to someone who doesn't know much about music and mindset, or believes that they don't have musical bone, or they never attended music school, to start with non-pitched instruments like let's say sticks, drums, like this drum. There are also bongos, so that quite accessible, and even something unusual like this ones, right? So there are spoons that
beautiful spoons.
And I have similar instrument. I don't know if you work with bowls. So this is what I used in back in 2010 when I was on placement 11, 12, and beyond. And sometimes I bring it as a mindfulness instrument, not a music instrument, because I know it as a mindful instrument. And you know what children learn first? They absolutely either love it or hate it, because the sound is quite unusual and
very.
So you need to be aware of children with, I would say, sensory issues. But the first thing they learn, if they hold it like this, it doesn't sing.
Yes.
And it's quite interesting. So they try to strike it, but it's not beautiful. It doesn't make any sound. I guess that's how they're similar. But if you strike it very gently, so you can hear the sound. And the bigger they are, the more expensive they are, I guess. The more opportunities they provide for reaching out. But they really love to learn this very complex skill when they touch it, and then they have to go around.
There is so much learning in that. I mean,
Yeah,
even
and
just
no one
in the
ever
middle,
tried
what
to do
you're
that,
doing.
like at once they couldn't learn. So it takes, I would say, days and days of practice and patience. And I think
Yes.
that's how I view it, as mindfulness. But for me, it was more like, as a teacher, it was more like a one-off, part of our rest sessions. Yeah. So
Oh,
when we
no,
lie down on the floor,
yeah, I mean, this you should be doing this not should. I try to move
we
away
make
from that
it
word.
every day, right?
You
So
can do this every day. I really want to get across to people that there are so many things that there are so many ways that you can bring musical learning or
mhm,
appreciation of music and mindfulness techniques into your everyday routine. You don't have to go out and buy things or get
yeah,
things. You can use what you have. Obviously, when we have special instruments like that, yes, and we want to look after them, and we're a bit more careful about how we share them with the children. That I would say, be really mindful. Mindful. There you go. Of of showing them how to do it first. There's nothing wrong with you going, okay, we're going to see something really special today. Come and join me. Come and sit quietly so you can all listen and
yeah,
see,
yeah,
and show them something special like that. I do that with all of my instruments anyway,
yeah,
because you want to set the
mhm,
expectations very early and very clearly. This is with all of our resources, this is a special instrument, and
yes,
somebody's taken a lot of time to make the instrument, and we need to
yeah,
there's a special way that we can use it. And even with a maraca, they're pretty
yeah,
hardy things, but you can't bang the maraca on the
yeah,
floor otherwise it'll break.
absolutely.
So you
Yeah,
have to
it will
stay.
break. Yeah,
And even babies, I say to early childhood educators, don't just wait until a baby is able to grasp it by itself and then shake it. Show them early as possible, because
yeah, gentle,
yeah,
intentional teaching.
even them tracking with their eyes, that is a really
Oh,
important
that's a
skill.
beautiful object. I
It's
agree.
it
Mm.
is. It's a really important skill for them to track it and to watch it and to listen to it and make contact with it, and
Mhm.
even just feel it on their skin. And as they get enough, you can hold it for them if you're,
Yeah,
if you're an educator with a baby, and then gradually, they'll build their skills. So always take the time to show the children what it is and use the correct terminology. I mean,
yes.
obviously, um, obviously my music and mindset course that I'm opening up very soon. You can join the waitlist in the links that you'll pop.
Yeah, I'll put the
I'm gonna
links later on so you
I'll
can
go
reach
into
them.
detail a lot about all these different modules that we go over,
Mhm.
instruments, songs to use, resources to use, what is mindfulness, what's musical learning,
Yeah.
all of those things. But even if you just want to, I mean, I've got so many free resources just to tap in. I've got a YouTube channels with what instrument is
Mhm.
that? And how do I
Yeah,
use it? 5 minutes and I'll show you about the maraca and give you a tip to take away. And from
yeah,
there, you're going to build your knowledge so that you can share it with the children. And as you get more confident
yeah,
in your practice, the children will become more confident with you and they'll become more engaged, and your
yeah,
connections, at the end of the day, connections matter so much. And through musical learning and mindfulness techniques and having those moments of quiet and routine and things like that, you're building connections. So you're creating such a respectful and positive learning environment. So I mean, the benefits are just there's so many benefits, not just for you, but for the children, for their
yeah.
families, and then the community in general, you know?
I think a lot of early childhood students that I used to teach, and a lot of teachers who are new graduate teachers,
Mhm.
they go to work in the field and they get the room, right? So, and they are now room leaders, so they have to run
Yeah,
this room,
yeah,
and they are a little bit lost in terms of how to
yeah,
integrate this into learning.
yep,
And maybe we can give them some examples of daily routines, or even examples of how music and mindset practices can be incorporated in curriculum for, I don't know, inquiry based projects, or just as part of these routines that we discussed. So we discussed one when you start playing during transition. Maybe there are other ways to introduce it, as setting up play space, naming the instruments, right? So maybe there are some other things we can teach.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are so many. I'm just trying to think. One one thing that I do notice a lot of educators lacking in is confidence in their singing skills. That's for sure. Because
Yes, that's true.
I would start there.
Mhm.
I
Because
not
that's
being
the most accessible instrument you have on you,
exactly.
right?
If
Yeah.
you can speak, you can sing.
Yeah,
And when I say sing,
that's right.
I want you to really understand that our voice, when we speak, we don't
Mhm.
speak like this as a robot. Our voice has natural prosody, which is, melodic changes in
Mhm.
pitch and tone. And there's that beautiful parentese. It used to be called motherese, but it's parentese talk. And it's when our voice gets higher in pitch when we're talking to a
Ah, there you go, to
baby
babies, yes.
or a puppy or, a cute little kitten.
Absolutely, yes.
And it's actually, it is actually our mother tongue. Research has shown this, this is one of the benefits of neuroscience, that when we vary our pitch, we are creating, especially when it's higher and, our whole body is changing, it's slowing down. Our body and our brain feels calm more than not calm.
Yeah.
If we need to, a toddler's climbing up a ladder and they're really unsafe, we immediately go stop, our voice
Oh,
lowers, we
yes,
look,
oh, yeah.
so that
It's a
that
spirit message
intonation,
we're sending,
yeah,
yeah.
or we say it louder. So
Mhm.
I want people to understand that their voice is actually singing already.
And
So
that's a good
when
advice, yeah.
yeah, when you are giving instructions, okay, let's put your shoes on. It's time to go outside. Come on, put your shoes on. Come on, put your shoes on. I always
Mhm.
use the shoes because everyone's frustrated when you've said it over and over again and the kids aren't listening. Stop for a moment, take a breath, and just change your pitch. Come and put your shoes on. Come and put your shoes on.
Mhm.
Once you change that into a more of a
Yes,
singing voice, you don't have to sing it in tune. It's okay.
yes.
Just lilt it a little bit. Come and put your shoes on. You're adding rhythm
Mhm.
and beat. You will get an instant attention
Mhm.
because when we listen to music and when we engage in music, our brain is interacting
Mhm.
all at once.
I was surprised that it still works because I thought, it's a little bit of an outdated practice, I thought.
Yeah.
I went to the early learning center not far from me last year, and I was inviting children to come and listen, come and
Yeah.
listen.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I was singing it, and then I was doing bluebells, cockle shells, and then
Yeah.
other aram sam sam, and they still respond to it. These modern children post COVID, they respond to it really well, and it doesn't look like an outdated practice. But educators looked at me, why is she singing? Because
I
it's such
know.
an unusual practice. Is it true? And I've read it somewhere in research about Victorian early childhood education and Australian education history, that every kindergarten teacher in Victoria used to be encouraged to take music lessons, especially piano playing, because it was quite common that kindergarten teacher would play. And also, they would encourage them to sing as well.
Yeah.
So, learn nursery rhymes and what you mentioned as a mothering. I forgot what
Mother
it
ease. Well, it's not
mothering.
fair anymore because mothers aren't the only parents. So we have
Yeah,
parentese, as in like
yeah,
Japanese.
parenting. Yeah, so this special way of speaking. So
Mm.
that's why I had a chat with my student. She was maternal nurse before
Mhm.
she wanted to become an early childhood educator. And she told me, Kate, we used to have this book, Merrily, Merrily, Merrily. So I immediately found it in my library because I had it as well. And it had the most amazing games, movement games, finger plays for babies like that are very young, not wheels on the bus,
Mm.
which everyone kind of goes to, or twinkle. A lot of interesting, maybe sometimes a little bit old, but so cool. Yeah, and they
You're
all
so
have CDs as well as books, and they would give it to parents. Please
mm.
sing with your babies.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much research to show the benefits of singing to your babies. There's even prenatally, when the baby is growing,
Yeah,
because we are wired to attend to musical sounds. And when I say that, that's how babies bond with their
yeah,
primary caregiver, because they're listening out. Everybody has like we all have fingerprints, unique fingerprints. Everybody has a vocal signature as well, which
Oh
is
yeah.
really, so
Yes.
that's part of our, our
Mm-hmm.
old brain, or not our old brain, but our primitive brain is to
Mm-hmm.
listen out for that person's our primary caregiver's call. So it's a really basic thing that we can do. So that would be my number one thing for any educators, even parents out there, is to just change your when you need your child or your whoever you're working with
Yeah.
to really pay attention, change the pitch of your voice, get it a little bit rhythmic, change the pitch of your voice, and you'll really get a reaction. The other
Yeah.
thing I do is focus on your breathing.
Mm-hmm.
Not when you need it, when you're having a meltdown or when your
Yeah.
children around you are, feeling overwhelmed. Do it
Yeah.
as a daily practice many times during the day. Even when you're, at your lunch, at snack times, if we all have snack times. So what can you smell, and get them to focus on their nose
Yes.
and do it slowly. Let's breathe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh,
love this idea. It's very, very practical. Yeah. And
so
let's say
good.
babies, when they smell the flowers, and toddlers,
Yeah.
they do it like this.
They do, they
Yes.
do. And so
Yes.
you can bring that as a learning. You can say, "Oh, you're breathing so quickly. Let's see if we can
Yes.
be like a sloth," and, use imaginative
Yes.
play. Children love
Absolutely.
imaginative play. They're so responsive to it.
Yeah, what I've seen, I don't know if you would agree, when you go to long daycare settings, sometimes kindergarten children are exposed to that as well. But in kindergarten, the programs are shorter, so it's not happening a lot. But in long daycare, it's like it's rest time, preschool age
Yep,
kinder children. Turn the
yep.
lights off or dim the lights off. Everybody pick a book and lie down. Even the tone doesn't
Yeah.
suggest that they need to
I
relax.
know, I know.
And children are looking so scared and they're so stressed. Oh my God, am I in trouble? And then they lie down
This is
because it is a discipline. And I
Yeah.
found this is such a wrong way to do it. So what I did few times, because I'm coming as a relief teacher, I'm not telling them what to do because they will hate me till the end of my
Yeah,
life.
yeah, yeah. You're
But
modeling, Kate. You're
I
modeling.
model it without hijacking their program if they allow me, because they usually allow me because I'm there to teach. So
Yeah.
I start to sing or put the music on and use these silk scarves that I
Oh,
start to wave
yes.
in the air like this. And I ask them if they would like to touch it and feel it. They need to lie down
Yeah.
if they feel like it, if they feel
And
like
then
it.
over
Yes,
near
and
their faces, they feel the cool
I
breeze.
yes, and
Yeah,
they start breathing, and then
yeah,
half of them fall asleep, and they
yeah.
say they never sleep. Well, no wonder. Lie down and sleep.
Because this is the thing. I mean, you've just mentioned it right then and there. The tone of the voice. It's like, okay, it's time to rest. This was a big grumpy person over me, standing over me like,
It's like,
"Whoosh."
I don't feel like it, please. I don't want to. Oh my.
That's when parentees comes in. It's time to rest our bodies. It's
Yes,
time to relax. Oh, what a busy day we've had.
yes, yeah,
Brains need to have a little rest now. You
yeah,
just change the tone of your voice to suit the
yeah,
situation. Now, of course, I'm a naturally musical person. I always have been. So of course I'm going to find this
yeah, mm,
easier.
yeah,
But there's still stuff I'm learning all the time, every day. There's
yeah,
stuff that I'm learning. I only got the courage to sing without, I used to do a lot of backing vocals. I only got the courage to sing in public just by myself 2 years ago,
yes.
and that's like
Oh,
that's
that's true. I agree.
14,
It's a
14
performance
years of
art.
having
Yeah.
musical learning. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
So I really want to encourage, like, I know education sector, especially early childhood,
mhm.
is a really stressful, there's a lot of pressure, there's a lot of tick boxes to get done, you're dealing with a lot of challenging behaviors. Those things are not going to change. What can
Yeah,
change you and your ability to be resilient and to learn how to bring the joy, how to bring breathing techniques, all of
mhm.
those things. You have the power to do that. And, you know, when you do any kind of learning with me, whether it's part of my free resources that I have, whether it's part of my short webinars, which are
Mhm.
topic specific, whether or not you enroll in, the online course,
Yes.
whatever research, whatever sort of contact you have with movers and shakers music, you're always going to get me cheering you on and showing you how you can just do it, like bring theory and turn it into confident practice. And I think that's really what we're missing a lot. We're giving a lot of
Yes.
people information,
Yes.
or we're giving them a YouTube playlist to put on, which, it's
that's
okay, saying anything wrong, but we need to be a bit more, it needs to be a bit more meaningful than that,
Yeah,
we need to
absolutely. I think it goes back to this relationships with children
Yep.
and responsive relationships and attachment.
Exactly.
I personally think also that educators who are from non-English speaking background are a little bit well, I would say taking aback and a bit uncertain whether they can sing in their own language. And I always encourage my students who are doing diploma or cert 3 to sing a lullaby in your own language. Believe me, it would be the most beautiful thing they will ever experience, because their mom speak English, or their parents, and suddenly you are singing in some interesting way, right? So the baby brain
what
will
language
start
it is.
wiring, right? So, and then it would be completely new connection. So, and some people in my class, they had this confidence and they started to sing. So I recorded quite a few German lullabies and some finger plays, like in Bahasa, Indonesian, and you just need to bring it up. And one of my favorite one was as well from Croatian, a Serbian background. It was so beautiful, and I have all these recordings, Japanese, head and shoulders, knees and toes, people speaking their tongue, but they're singing as well.
Yeah.
And
Where can you find that?
I just in classroom, I asked them who is confident enough.
Have you got a recording?
Yeah, I have recordings on my iPhone because, I didn't ask them to go public, but they have enough confidence to do it with me. But then when it comes to practice, they probably again, or what people will say when I sing. And I think we need to normalize it a little bit more, because children, they don't judge you.
I know, that's the wonderful thing, isn't it? Children don't judge. It's just as we get older, we get grumpier, we get more judgmental.
Yeah, exactly.
No, let's
they might say though that you speak funny, and that's the way to address it as well. People speak in a different way. Some people stutter, some people have an accent, some people have multiple languages, and so low voice, high voice, isn't it amazing as well? But I am through Storykate, I like to promote easy ways, right? So as you also highlighted, I think what we deal with, that there are programs like, and I'm not going to name them, but they are fantastic programs, but they have too many steps. You need to follow this sequence. Let's say lift your clap sticks and then tap tap tap, then put them away, and now pick. It's a little bit too complex for teachers, as I found, because I was looking for ways to implement music when I researched Karl Orff and Kodali. And what I decided, that Orff is amazing because he introduces all these folk songs and instruments that are non-pitched, right? So and we still rely heavily on Orff, but Kodali was my favorite, Zoltan Kodali, because it was about voice. He said voice is your most accessible instrument that you have right now. And I think it's good that we backed it up with one of the greatest theorists in early childhood music education. And we just need to encourage people to do that as well.
Yeah.
And if you think about the practical one that I am sharing is with my students, is sing the song that they all know and you can't stand it anymore. And I'm not talking about Baby Shark.
I was going to say Baby Shark.
I'm talking about Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, let's say. And you sing a twinkle. I've seen teachers doing that. They're doing a twinkle, twinkle. They're so sick of it. So first advice, change your voice, as you said. So, for example, sing it like you are a little mouse. Little mouse. So, and then children look at you. Oh wow! And the brain starts wiring again, right?
Because they've picked up a different.
And then play it on the drum, right? So and they will understand.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star. See
And
how I waited on that one,
yeah, absolutely. So great. And the other one, you can ask them to think about maybe a person in their life, what their voice is like, if it's like a grandfather
Yeah.
or daddy or whoever is in their life who speaks, maybe another mommy, right? So who speaks with a
Yeah.
lower voice, and they
Yeah.
can try to sing it in this way. I found this hilarious. They look at you like, what are you doing? It's like, why are you funny? But
Beautiful.
they also interested and engaged, and that's what we want as well. And they start to experiment. There's like, to sing in a low voice you need to breathe, right?
Yeah,
So
you do, don't you?
yeah, so it's so easy. Apart from this one, what kind of easy strategies you also cover in your course, or the free resources that you mentioned? So what
Oh,
educators will benefit from?
well, look, the breathing one, I want to make a mention of that because that's one of my latest free downloads that I've got, and it's, I think, especially post-COVID. I don't want to jump on the post-COVID
Yeah,
wagon too much, but I think we could all do with some support to learn those simple breathing techniques. So
yeah,
that is just 5 of my top 5. I didn't make them up. I research, I get ideas
yeah.
from other people. I've just put them in a really simple infographic for you to download.
Oh,
And
that's great.
when you bring them in as I really believe everyone should, all educators should have at least one sort of group time during the day where everyone
Mhm.
gathers. It's a routine. It's building that sense of community, building connection. A chance for you to do some explicit teaching if you've got some things that you really want to talk about,
Yeah.
and use that time to everybody sitting down. We're going to, just while we wait for the other children, we're going to practice let's do some, let's be a bee. And you can get a
Oh,
little bee. I haven't got my bee. And you breathe in. Okay, we're going to smell those flowers.
oh, that's such a good
Let
mindfulness
the bee
exercise.
buzzing around. We're going to make him fly. Don't breathe out too quickly. Up he goes in the air. And so that they don't know that they're actually practicing mindfulness
Mindfulness,
in that
yes.
way. But
Mhm.
when you're bringing their attention, and it's your attention
Yeah,
too, when you're
yeah,
bringing your attention to your breath in a playful way, your brain is making that connection. It's
yeah,
making those pathways strong so that when you are really stressed or you're noticing that, the children around you are feeling a little bit heightened, overwhelmed, having a bit of a meltdown, you can go, okay, that bee over there, let's go smell the flowers with him. And you're
yeah.
distracting them, and you're
Trigger
using the breathing.
trigger that you are using to remind them, or anchor to remind them that you have this.
Exactly. And if you do those breathing techniques as part of just your
Mhm.
everyday routine, not
Yes.
necessarily in group time, but
Yeah,
even when you're just outside in the garden or whatever, at snack time,
yeah,
use those opportunities multiple times during the day to practice mindfulness breathing so that you
yes.
can use it when you need it. Okay.
Mhm.
That's one of my main things that I always encourage. And then the other
I
thing,
imagine that's a beautiful way to use maybe puppets as well, or some visuals for them to remind. Yes, so throughout the room. Yes, so you
yeah,
can have
definitely.
real flowers in the room that are not non-toxic, especially now
Yeah.
in spring. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm a hay fever sufferer, so I get that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so you need to
And
find
just
safe ones. Yeah, that the pollen is not they're not allergic to it.
yeah. And just in terms of musical instruments, yes, you might have, I've got a checklist that I like to use, if people are wanting to, if they've got a small
Yeah,
budget, or if they're wanting
yeah,
to look through the storeroom and see what's available. And the most common
yeah,
things, maracas, egg
yeah.
shakers, all of
Yes,
these
yeah.
things can be made out of recycled
Materials.
materials.
Yeah,
I've
absolutely.
got a little worksheet on that as well. And then, you've got your beautiful tone blocks that you can purchase if you want to. So there's things that you can do, but there's just, music is
Mhm.
all around. Go out and go on a little nature walk and go and collect some sticks that might be similar in size
Yeah.
and use these clapping sticks. Put them
Yes.
together, because while you're doing that action, you're
Yeah.
supporting that crossing the midline activity. It's actually a
Yeah.
really hard thing for young children to do, doing that,
Yeah.
or tapping it on your shoulder, tapping it
Getting
here,
them. Yeah.
making them walk one by one.
Mhm.
That's easy for us to do, but a 2-year-old and a
Oh,
3-year-old,
yes. Yeah.
that's a really big skill. It's an
Yeah.
important skill. So
Um,
there's so many things.
That's a really great idea with a checklist. I think. Do you share it for free, or is it something
Yeah,
that?
that's free. That's just on the website. You can go into.
I think that's a really great way to audit your resources
yes,
and find
it
out
is. It
if
is.
you need something new or
Yeah.
start using what you have. I think that's really good.
Don't be afraid to use what you have. I mean, if you are feeling afraid, just pick one instrument,
Yeah.
get a small group of children together and show them, and just be gentle with your voice about, because they're going to be curious. They want to grab it. Just remind them,
Absolutely, yes.
let's have a look together. Change your voice so that they know that something special is happening.
Yeah.
Don't get too frustrated with them and go, don't touch it.
Yeah,
it's
hard. Yeah, I know. Especially with ukulele, yeah. There was a moment recently. It's a true story. I'm honest about sharing my fails.
Yes. Good. Oh, me too.
I brought the ukulele to this group of children. They were rascals. Like, they were a bit active because they didn't have they didn't have a kindergarten teacher. I feel like that the kindergarten teacher was a bit soft-spoken, and they were very active children, full of energy and small backyard. All right, let's just say that. And when I brought my ukulele, it happened within an instance, and I couldn't believe that this happened. The girl grabbed it and whacked the other girl in front of me and the other educator, and we were. Why? What is it? Is it what you have seen in the movies? And I thought maybe because you know how often they do it. And
stars. Look out!
I'm gonna wait for this moment and whack my friend. And when we are, look, I don't support that when you like reprimand the child, but we ask her. That was it the right thing to do? Is it how we deal with anger? And I couldn't help but ask why. Why did you do it?
Yeah, I know. I've had this is my. I was letting you know just before we hit record. This is my cheaper. It's still a beautiful instrument. It's only like $49.
Mahalo? Is it Mahalo?
Yeah, it is a Mahalo. It's the one that I take with me when I do my music and movement groups with young children because they just want to pluck this. I've had my beautiful, very expensive classical one, and took that one day, and the child just pulled all the strings out, and they broke it. Oh, yes. Okay, we're going to sing a cappella today. Even the youngest, like just recently, I think she must be 9 months old because she's pulling herself up.
Yes.
And she comes over and she just touches it, but they don't necessarily know how to make the sound. How you have how you have to have your fingers on a little bit of an angle, or if you go like that, you're not going to make.
It's
so many. So always, if they're a little bit hesitant, I'll just go, "Can Kristy hold your hand?" And we do it together, and just that connection with them, seeing their eyes go and their hands stop here and go, "Oh, what's going to happen? Is she going to growl at me? Is it going to explode?" They don't know what's going to happen. But one of them take months and months before they'll come and touch it themselves, because I always give them the opportunity in the hello and goodbye song. And always throughout the sessions, they'll come up and play it anyway. But it's so important for them to be able to have real instruments, Yeah,
I agree with you.
So,
well, where would we send educators to find affordable instruments? I would send them on Facebook Marketplace, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. Try Facebook Marketplace first. See what you can get secondhand. With this, I should have bought the little tuner. With this, a lot of the things, I've said this to so many educators, when you buy a ukulele, make sure you're buying the little clip-it tuner as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's on like $15 or $20. And that in itself is a really great learning experience for the kids as well, because they'll see when it turns green. Yeah, green means go. Can you watch carefully? We're going to tune it up. Because you want them to experiment with the instrument, but you also want them to understand that it has to sound not like this is a pitched instrument, and it needs to sound nice for our ears, harmonious, nice. too random a word, but it needs to sound harmonious to our ears, and we can do that by,
Yeah.
that's a whole other lesson in itself.
So my understanding is, from what I've seen across many centers, is that they quite often bring these ukuleles, they have them in the storeroom and put a musical corner together.
Yeah.
And children pretty much destroy the instrument straight away because there is no intentional teaching. They're yelled as well because they're doing it. And they've been told that they need to be gentle, but no one ever does this intentional teaching, even Montessori 3 steps style lesson with them. So they have no idea what they're dealing with. And what I found is that this is probably the last instrument that you would introduce after children already had experienced all these non-pitched instruments like clavis, then we can have maracas, egg shakers, drums, right? And what I promote personally, I don't know if you would agree, that ukulele is more like for teachers during this group time, or spontaneous music moments when you pick it up from your teaching shelf. It's a very special moment to connect, because that's what I've seen as a successful music program. Nearby there is a center, it's open last year, and the teacher plays guitar. The guitar looks expensive because he needs it to sound good, so it's always in the case, and he brings it, plays with children outside. Toddlers dance outside, not to the iPad, and that's so amazing. And he asks them, what song would you like me to play? What song would you like to sing together? And he learned all these songs that these toddlers love. And it's absolutely amazing moment of connection. Then he packs it up and goes away, and then he's educated again. But I found this was such a beautiful moment. Would you advise educators to invest into learning simple instrument that is ukulele? Because guitar is pretty hard to learn, right? So
well, I'm my mum, with many instruments that she played, she was also a guitar teacher, and even as a little kid, as a teenager, as an adult, I still struggle with learning the guitar. That's why I've taught myself the ukulele, because I can't take my piano easily with me. So I needed something.
Why not?
I used to do it a lot, but I don't anymore. It's a little bit cumbersome. But no, ukulele, look, if you are musically inclined and if you want to do this, I think you definitely need to give it a go, because it's such a simple instrument to learn nursery rhymes and children's songs, because you really just need to know C chord, G chord, and F chord, and you can practice those, and A minor, but that's getting a little bit technical. But it is a very portable instrument, it's an affordable instrument, and it's one that you're not going to break your own budget learning how to find it or learning how to do it. And if the kids are a bit too rough with it or whatever, it's not a super, super precious thing. Yes, we need to respect it, but it's not, you're not going to set them up for failure. So it's a great instrument, absolutely great. And there's a lot to be said for good playlists and YouTube clips and all of that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, you need to make sure you're having a huge amount of natural instruments and natural connection with humans, because that's where children learn best, babies learn best, getting all of the facial recognition, the emotional understanding, social understanding, what's okay.
Not cartoonized babies on TV.
But I mean, you look at a lot of the cartoons these days, and just the eyes are in one spot.
The eyes, massive eyes. I know.
The mouth doesn't really move, so we're not getting any information about emotional or social cues. We're not getting that from the screen. I talk about that in my blog, one of my earliest ones. But that natural connection with somebody, and then you're also in the moment. So you're covering all of your wonderful pedagogical practices. You're bringing it back to your quality framework as well as learning outcomes. You're engaging, you're explicit teaching, the children are using their emerging interest because they're requesting songs. It's It's just
It's
got
quite rich. Yes, absolutely. So there is this book that we have for free as like in Victoria and I guess in Australia as well. So it's called EYLF in Action. So it's got examples of documentation. So if you are interested in learning more about how to document these projects, they have quite a few ideas, including indigenous instruments as well. But
yeah.
it's just a couple of stories. So we do have few books, and I wanted to share my favorite one that I really love. It's by well, it's Disengaged Education. It's I don't know if
Oh
you can
yes.
see it. Music and Early Childhood Education. It's
Oh yes, I know that.
introduction by Joan Griata. So
Yeah.
this one is one of my favorite because it's got not just all these instruments covered, but a little bit of history and all these key concepts that I relearned because I learned music and I attended full-time school, music school. But time passes and you forget everything. So sometimes if you want some refreshment, I think a book is cool, but it's much easier to learn from each other, right? So that's why I think your course
Mm.
or webinars, workshops, videos are so much more accessible for people who want to relaunch their music program or want to learn from the scratch, right? So
Mhm.
that's what I
Definitely.
would do
Yeah.
if I had like I would say if I had opportunity, because
Yeah.
my biggest regret with masters was that I was expecting practical
Yeah.
tutorials. I know it's I feel like
It's a
it's a
real
bit
gap.
a bit of a disappointment. The
Mm.
idea to enroll into the unit that is called Music and Early Childhood Education
Mm.
and have no session that you will learn to use any of the instruments we covered was a bit sad. So
Yeah.
yeah, they send you to read articles about music and how important it is, and they do not teach you to sing a single song.
Yeah. And then you're only getting one part of the puzzle. You
Yes,
need you need the practice, you need the engagement with
yeah,
other people, you need to make mistakes and
yeah,
try an activity and go, "Oh, that was terrible. The kids
yeah.
hated it. I was so nervous," or
Agree.
"No
Yeah,
one listened." You need that. You
yeah,
need that physical element too. It's really important, and that's really the motivation behind why I've created this course, because so many years of working in the industry
yeah,
and seeing listening to people, listening to looking at observations of children engaging and educators engaging, it's all coming back to this idea that we really need to learn the theory and turn it into confident practice. And
yeah.
that's where you get that generational change. That's where change can happen, and then generational change can happen. Mm.
Yes, and I like that music and mindfulness and movement
Yes.
so
Yeah.
interrelated that they create, as you said, this powerful
Mm.
instrument for teachers that you don't really have to pay much for, right?
No.
So you need to invest into learning, but then once you have it, it's versatile, and especially if you have imagination, which I assume most educators do because they
I
like this
have.
profession for
Yep.
creativity, right? You can create your own meditations that are involving multiple instruments, scarves like silk scarves and I don't know, chimes, even recorded music like sound walk, right? So you can
Yes.
create your own sound walks, singing as you walk through the bush during bush kinder session.
Mm.
You don't need to take anything because bush kinder is pretty light on the resources, so what you need is to sing as well,
Yes,
right? um,
exactly.
yeah, or listen to the music of the forest and then maybe create your own songs about it.
Yeah, and that in itself is mindfulness, because you're paying attention to what's happening in the moment, and you're paying attention to it on multiple levels, not just what you see, but what you
Yeah,
hear, what you feel, what you're smelling, what you're
yeah,
touching. So mindfulness is
yes,
really, we also need to move away from that idea that mindfulness is sitting on a yoga mat staring into a candle. That's
mhm.
that's an important part of it if you want, but mindfulness is in our daily routine already. We just have to tune into it, you know?
I want to bring a little bit more spirituality there,
Mhm.
share my personal experience. So when I was pregnant, and I got pregnant quite young, I
Mm.
was into experimenting with different ways to feel better during
Yes.
my pregnancy, because
Yeah.
I had really a terrible sickness in the morning. I would just not be
Yeah.
able to function for the first 2 months. So,
Mm.
and I needed to finish my university, graduate, and I was also working. And I remember I started this school for mothers to be a parenting school, and they taught us how to sing, because I was lucky that this school had a teacher who was a folk teacher, and he had a choir, and he taught us how to use singing during the childbirth. And I know
Yes.
it sounds absolutely mad, but I
No,
did.
it's not bad.
Yeah, I did use it during childbirth, and I did not need any painkillers or any what it's like this medication.
Induction, inducing.
Inducing pain, yeah. So I had no painkillers, and it was really long, so it wasn't fast childbirth. But I remember singing. I still remember. It's just not singing songs, but you just pretty much like
Vocalizing.
wail,
I,
vocalizing.
my
Yeah.
husband said I was like an opera singer.
Oh, yeah, exactly that. And I found this was magical. I
Yeah.
know it works. So I want to tell you as well that that's my little secret, that when I'm anxious, let's say before the shift in a new center, and I do get anxious as well still after all these years,
Of
because I don't
course.
know what people will think about me, who are the children, what's gonna happen. Oh my God. So
Yeah.
I just in my car driving to work, and I start doing the same thing. Oh, and I feel that my voice is breaking because I don't breathe properly, because I already worked myself up. And the
Yeah.
more I sing, the clearer this voice become. I know I look really strange when someone can see me, but I don't care, because this helps a lot. If you need
Oh,
help, I
so
also
good.
turn this Buddhist
Yeah.
chanting, and this
Yep.
also helps. Also, mindful music on Spotify, but pure singing, if you can do it in your shower or whatever you feel confident at home when nobody's there, or walking through the bush, so amazing. It just
Yeah.
an easy stress relief tool
Isn't
that
it
I
one?
discovered, and I know it's secret because I don't want to talk about it. I think we should. It's so easy.
We need to, of course,
Yeah,
because again, it's coming back to that idea that a musical person is someone that can sing in tune or play an instrument
yeah,
fantastically. It's not true. It is
yeah,
we all need to make sure that our voices are able to be heard and
yeah,
expressed the way that we need them to be, not according to the person next door to us, or
yeah,
a person in charge of something. It's a really important thing, and kids don't, they just like, "Wah!"
yeah.
you know they enjoy it. So we need to take a
Oh
leaf from
yeah,
their book. We need to learn from the children,
yeah.
stop being judgmental and be more kind to ourselves, and let our voices shine and sing out.
That's really great advice. I also have very empowering story about one child who was nonverbal. I don't know, you probably have them too, because you are a specialist in support
Mm,
education.
yeah.
And I would teach children music, because I thought, like, I'm a kindergarten teacher now. I have to create my own curriculum.
Mm,
And I was running the room, and I thought I definitely will sing every day. So, and
yeah.
I created a list of songs. They loved books that had songs, for example, Wash Your Face with Orange Juice,
Yeah.
Puff the Magic Dragon, Somewhere Over the Rainbow was their favorite as well, and
Yeah.
Puff the But we also learned a lot of songs for this graduation concert. That early childhood centers love graduation concerts. I don't, but because I went to school and had to perform as well. But I thought, if children like it, why not? I will invite them to participate. And if the child would say, I don't want to, I would say, go sit with your mommy, daddy, whoever came. And they all wanted to participate. So because we were singing every day, they gained so much confidence, including this boy who was almost nonverbal. When he would speak, he would be, I would say, saying few words, and they would be nonsensical, right? So a little bit
Yeah.
hard to understand, and articulation wasn't there yet. And mom said that he's got a bit of a stress and delay, but I could see that there is an underlying issue with social connections as well. how much he loved to sing, and he started to join our group every day, and he would stand there and sing. And then during the concert, his mom cried when she saw that, because he was singing this songs completely full sentences. We had this song about daffodils, and he was like the loudest boy. He was like, take a little rain and a little sunshine, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is the tool. And you know what happened as well, because like you, I'm at crossover of different professions. I used to
Yes.
teach children to read in my native tongue in Russian through singing. So they
Yeah.
basically call this method chitai и poi, which means read and sing. I know
Yes.
it's quite unique and innovative, but I think it's not used a lot in English speaking countries as well.
Mm.
It needs to be used, because what we were doing, we were singing songs that they would already know,
Mm.
such as folk songs. Yes, so they would know, like it's Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, let's say. And then we would sing together, and they would have little like sheets of these words, right? So that would be easy to follow, and it will bring this reading skills to the next level really fast. We also will teach them syllables. I would, through use of some syllables are, very bright, yes, so in my language, and some syllables are a little bit dull, yeah. And I would put it's like they're shakers. I wish I could show them. I just thought of them, but I don't have them anymore. And they would be more like this egg shakers, the dull one, and the bright one would have bells. And they
Yes.
love just to play with these cubes,
Yeah.
because they were
Oh,
symbols, but they also were instruments. So we would make songs and build their name with them. So little syllables, but they would be 3D objects. And it was so popular that children would start reading at 4,
yeah.
uh, very early. And it's not that I'm proud of it, it's something a little bit too early in my opinion, but it is absolutely possible to teach children to read and speak much clearer, like with music, is including children who have sensory issues and who have non-verbal period at the moment, for whatever reason they came from another country, or they experienced trauma, or they have a delay. Yeah.
Mm.
um, is it something that you observed as well, that music is really therapeutic
Yes.
and helps?
And I'm definitely not a music therapist. Often people say, "Oh, you're the music therapist
Yeah,
lady."
you
I
are
said, "No,
not. Yes.
I'm definitely not a music therapist," because that in itself is a very specific, years of study at university, with the focus on therapy itself.
Yeah.
But in terms of music, using musical learning to support, especially literacy, coming back
Yeah.
to the neuroscience, there are so many research studies out there now that are showing that when we, things like phonemic awareness, so the
Yeah.
ability to actually, for your listeners out there that are not sure about what that is, it's just really being able to detect the difference in sound. So the difference between the letter P and the letter
Yeah.
T, the letter
Yeah.
M and the letter N. That's the most simple.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
for we first, when we're learning to read, like when you get to primary school and start learning how to read, you need to be able to already have an understanding and be able to hear those differences before you can then see the symbol that is a
Yeah.
P or a T before you even learn to write them. So this is the notion
Yeah.
of the pre-literacy. We need to be
Yeah.
using musical learning as much as we can from
Yeah.
the to 5 area to prime those brains, to make those connections really strong with what we hear and how we can detect differences in sound, pitch,
Yeah.
rhythm,
Yeah.
beat. So we need to
Absolutely.
be doing that before we get to school so that those pathways are ready for that
Hmm.
extra step of learning how to then know what the letter P looks like and the letter
Yeah.
T looks like, and then
Hmm.
how, and then it just goes on from there. We put
Yeah.
another letter to it and it becomes a word. We put 2, becomes a sentence,
Yeah.
all those building blocks. So it's, that's one way that literacy can really support. And there's a huge, I won't go into it now because I know we're really short on time, but
Hmm.
there's so much research supporting children with ADHD or autism spectrum,
Yeah.
dyslexia. So yeah, there's lots of stuff coming out
Mhm.
that musical intervention can support the learning there, and to really
Yes,
support the brain to thrive. Because
that's
remember, when we're musical
amazing.
learning, we're making everything work.
Mhm.
Everything is, on high alert, I suppose you'd say.
That's what Howard Gardner called musical intelligence. Yes, so we need to remember that we focus on holistic learning as
Yeah,
teachers and educators, and this is the way to support not just one child who is musical, but all the group, right?
yeah,
So and break
definitely.
it up.
Yeah.
Well, to wrap it up a little bit with some positive future plans, what are some future projects or initiatives that you have in mind for Music and Shakers Music company business? And how do you see your role evolving in the coming years?
Oh, my role. I missed that first bit. The internet has
Some
been
future
glitchy.
projects, yeah. So some projects that you are planning, maybe some new areas that you are
Yes.
developing.
So when because the music and mindset course only opens twice a year,
Yeah.
in between those because it's a longer course, and I want to be available for the cohorts that come through.
Yeah.
But I've got so many ideas. I mean, like you and I are going to get together and do something amazing. I can tell we're going to do.
Yeah, that would be really
We're not
great.
sure, but stay tuned, everybody. But what I
Across
really
the
love to do, yeah, what I really love to do is to do some more mini courses. So things like
ocean.
just specifically doing ukulele, for example,
Yeah.
a short course on doing, just the
Mhm.
basic techniques of
Oh, that's
ukulele.
really good. Yeah,
Short,
that's my
affordable
my
course.
my ukulele is baritone, so we are not competitors.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. There you go. Well, let's collaborate anyway. But
Yeah.
even using handbells, I use handbells a lot,
Mhm.
even with my Birth to Five program. So
Yes.
I've even got 1-year-olds using the handbells, but they need to be. That's a very specific way
Yes.
that you introduce them. You
Yeah.
can't, you're setting them up for failure. You're setting yourself up for failure if you just
Yeah.
give them to them. So,
Yes.
small, shorter courses like that, in between period, to give
Yeah.
people an idea of what it's like to work with me, to
Yeah.
give some really practical skills. So,
Yeah.
and I've got my podcast. If anyone out there is listening would, thinks, oh yeah, I'd love to have a chat with Kristy, send me an email. Happy to have you on as a guest or be a guest on your podcast.
Mhm.
Just really wanting to do some live workshops in my local area next year.
Mhm.
This year's already booked out, but yeah, next year. I can't believe I'm saying next year already, but
Oh, that's wonderful. So you do face-to-face workshops in Tasmania as well?
I have in the past. I've set
Mhm.
them aside for the moment as I get the online course happening, but
Yeah.
next year is going to be, there will be a few spots that will open up each
Yeah.
term as well. So yeah, just spreading the joy and the magic and the power of music and mindset. That's my mission, and I'll drag anyone along with me for the ride.
That's fabulous. Let's make musicking.
Yes,
Yeah, more,
exactly.
yeah,
Woo!
the enjoyment of having music in your program and just
Yeah,
being with music. Yeah, so
exactly. So
that's really
important.
good. Thank you, Kristy. I really enjoyed our interview or chat.
Yeah.
I'd say
Yes,
it's but
both.
and I hope that we helped educators to understand what is
Mm,
this crossover between music and mindfulness. We
yeah.
also didn't cover movement much, but I guess we have more to
That's
anticipate,
part 2.
right? Part
That's
two.
part
So
2. Stay
if
tuned.
you enjoyed this video, post comments below. What are your challenges in adopting music curriculum or bringing music in your program? What instruments would you like to learn to play? And what instruments do you have in your storeroom? We would love to see that.
Open the
So,
storeroom.
yeah, and find treasures. Yeah, so and we will definitely help you to start using them.
Mm,
All
yeah.
right, so that's the end of today's chat. So bye for now. Thank you, Kristy,
Alright.
and I will
Thank
post all the
you.
links in the description.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.